The New Orleans Pelicans already have a bunch of awesome young talent, and they're currently one of the best teams in the NBA. But would you believe me if I told you that they've got a player on their roster that actually has star potential and is still only 22 years old? Now, I know that gets thrown out a ton these days. A young role player will have a few good games, and everybody starts freaking out and saying that this player is going to be a star. But with Trey Murphy, I feel a lot more comfortable being a little bit higher on his ceiling as a player than I would be with some other guys. Trey Murphy was the 17th overall pick in the 2021 draft, spending his last season of college with the University of Virginia. He was touted for his perimeter shooting ability, being compared to a lot of the modern 3-and-D guys that every team seems to be constantly looking to add to their roster. But over the last couple of seasons, Murphy has been doing the 3-and-D stuff, but he takes it all a step further with some other aspects of his game that gives me a lot of confidence that he's going to be more than just your standard shooter on the wing. If you take a look at his season stats, they're about what you'd expect from a quote-unquote role player. 13 points, 4 rebounds, he's knocking down a couple of threes. But when you blow these numbers out to per 36 minutes, you'll see a player that's doing a lot more than his box score indicates. Now, when it comes to some players, per 36 minute numbers can be pretty deceiving, but with Trey Murphy, it's not even remotely a stretch to think that he'd put up numbers similar to what his per 36 stats are if he was given a full 36. He's also been starting lately, which makes me think we might start to see his minutes per game trend upwards as the season continues to go on. Murphy is already essentially the perfect role player. He's fantastic at shooting threes, he can attack closeouts really well, and he doesn't really put up bad shots at all. Look at his shot chart. It's pretty much all threes and shots at the rim. Yeah, he's put up the occasional mid-range shot, but this is like the perfect shot profile for the modern NBA, especially from a complementary piece like Murphy. He doesn't have to work terribly hard for his buckets, partially due to the soundproof plays that Willie Green draws up for him, but also due to how smart of a player he is and the talent that he's got when he gets the opportunity to score. One play that they run for him often is this floppy action to get him open on the strong side corner. With him coming from the weak side to receive staggered screens along the baseline, he'll get it in the corner with plenty of space to put up the shot. They also love to put him on the weak side up top and run screens on the other side of the court for ball handlers. Then they'll have the ball handler head downhill, which will oftentimes force help near the top of the key, allowing for a pass to him for the catch and shoot three. We can see a bit of a variation of it here with CJ getting the handoff from Valanciunas and CJ getting deeper towards the paint, collapsing the defense, which ultimately opens up the kick out to Trey for the shot. It really punishes undisciplined defense, especially when Trey can reliably knock them down from such an absurd distance. You can't really play tight on him because it opens up way too much space on the interior, which we know what Zion Williamson can do with that. But when you sag off of Murphy, he's going to punish you by knocking down the shot. Another thing that I want to point out about Murphy and his shooting specifically is how little dip he has on his release. I wouldn't call it a true no-dip three, but the quickness of his release is ridiculous. He hardly brings the ball down at all before he's able to get into his shot. Now, what's the benefit of this? Well, defenders have significantly less time to close out on his shots when he's able to get into his shot so quickly. A lot of shooters have to bring the ball all the way down to their waist to get into their shot motion, but Murphy barely brings it down at all before he's able to rise up for the shot. So when defenders close out on him, it's already too late for them to really even make a good contest. Since he's such a sound perimeter shooter, obviously defenders are going to be closing out on him. Maybe the best part of his game is the fact that he's gotten so good at attacking these closeouts and actually putting the ball on the ground to get to the rim, an area that he's shooting 72% at so far on the year. He seems really comfortable coming off of these closeouts. Then when he gets into the paint, he sees JaVale McGee waiting there. So he just takes this sidestep to the left side of the rim so that he avoids any contest and he gets the layup to fall. Now he gets it here and he gets Luka to bite, and then he uses this nice cross to get by Finney-Smith, then planting his left foot to get some leverage to use that frame to avoid Finney-Smith and get the reverse layup. He comes off of this pin down into the staggered screen handoff from Nance, attacking the paint, and then crossing to his left side on Anthony Davis, getting in front of him to force Anthony Davis into a risky situation where he can't afford to foul him before Murphy puts up the finish. He does a fantastic job of getting his defender to commit to him in the corner before taking the space towards the rim, and then he hits 𝙗𝙗 with this really nice Euro step to get the finish with his right hand. This is going to be the differentiator for him from most 3-and-D guys, being able to punish closeouts like this when he demands so much attention on the three-point line. With his build at 6'9" and his bounce and 7-foot wingspan, he shouldn't have any problem making this an easy way to continue to build out his scoring game, especially if his ball handling continues to improve the way that it has. And Murphy is not just a stationary scorer, he's doing a lot of his work off of handoffs and off of screens. Like I mentioned earlier, part of this is a product of the plays that Willie Green draws up for him, but it's also a testament to his feel and how he's able to angle his body and the cuts that he makes in a way that are going to drive his defenders into the screens as the play intended. He hasn't shown a ton of movement shooting yet. As you can see in a lot of these plays, he's ultimately stationary by the time he actually gets into his shot, but there's enough there to believe that the movement shooting isn't even remotely out of the realm of possibility for something that he can add to his perimeter shooting game. He's been an 88th percentile scorer off of screens, scoring 1.2 points per possession, and a 99th percentile scorer off of handoffs, scoring 1.5 points per possession. He's going to be a tough coverage when he's being put into these actions. The best part about Murphy is that while all of this offensive promise and talent is there, he's also projecting to be a really, really good defender. Like I've mentioned already, he's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, and he's not slow-footed by any means. He's going to have a lot of versatility on the defensive end, being able to guard 1 through 4, especially if he puts on some size around that frame of his. Even if he gets beat off the dribble or his defender is able to create space, his wingspan allows him to contest the shot from a distance, still making shooters' lives difficult even after they think they're safe because of the space they created. His defense against pick-and-roll ball handlers this year has been awesome, staying on Clarkson here and just swallowing him up when he's getting towards the rim, and he doesn't allow Clarkson to create any space or get any favorable angles around the basket, ultimately forcing the miss. He switches onto Talen Horton-Tucker off of this screen, and Murphy doesn't allow him to fully take advantage of the head of steam that he starts to get, staying in front of him as he gets downhill, buying Marshall enough time to come down and provide help and get the block. DeMar gets towards the nail off of this screen, but Murphy does a fantastic job of navigating the screens and not letting DeMar get a favorable angle. DeRozan hesitates on the initial shot, and Murphy gets a good contest when DeRozan ultimately puts it up, and he forces the miss. When Jackson slips this screen and Paul George drives, beating Zion a bit and getting a good angle, Murphy stays in somewhat of a drop coverage on it, waiting for George to get into the paint before contesting the shot. Having this versatility and feel on the defensive end makes him a real threat on that end, and he's a large reason why the Pelicans have managed to be a strong defensive team, despite all of these preseason projections that talked about how the Pelicans weren't going to be able to stop opposing teams from scoring. That hasn't been the case at all, with the Pelicans having the 3rd best defense in the NBA. Everything that we've seen from Murphy makes him not just a potential future all-star, but also, more importantly, a perfect fit next to Zion and Brandon Ingram. With the scoring gravity that these guys have, Murphy is going to be a 3rd threat that teams have to be cautious of. He opens things up for Zion to get downhill due to the spacing that he possesses, but he also creates playmaking opportunities for Ingram when Ingram is drawing double teams on the interior. I don't see any reason, as long as he continues to develop how he has, why he can't be a reliable 20-plus point per game scorer, assuming that his 3-point shooting scales with more volume and his off-the-dribble stuff continues to improve. Everyone thought that CJ McCollum was going to be the quote-unquote 3rd star for New Orleans, but the truth is that Trey Murphy is closer to becoming that 3rd option than a lot of people think. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. That's the #1 way to support me and help me continue making content. I'm uploading every day for the month of December, so if you don't want to miss a video, go ahead and subscribe while you're here. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting me and my content. I'll see you in the next one.